Hello, guys. How's it going today? Sean here, and I want to take you on a little journey with me. I haven't posted a video probably in about 8 months. I don't know, a little while. I was doing knife reviews for a little bit, and I wasn't really enjoying doing the reviews specifically. Uh, I did a lot of BPS knife reviews, and I mostly did those because I was so impressed with the company and what they were doing in the budget realm that I needed to give them a little recognition. Uh, I found there wasn't a lot of information online about BPS knives, and I wanted to kind of put my 2 cents in there. I just did get a new BPS knife, the an HK4. I might do a review on this one because it's a great full flat grind knife. But I wasn't really happy with what I was doing as far as the content of those reviews. I love using the knives, but I was struggling to come up with ideas for the content other than just like showcasing the specs and talking about my opinion. And I decided to start building my own knives. So I went on the Beep Boop Boop Amazon and picked up a few Mora knife blanks, and I just started digging in there. So this is the first one that kind of started it all. This is a Mora number 2 blank, I do believe they are. It's the same length as a companion, same blade shape and everything. It's basically a companion blade with a stick tang. So this one is cherry wood with an old belt that I had cut up into stacks, and I did a leather stack for the handle, and then the end cap is bloodwood that I had left in my house. My wife's grandfather, that we moved into her house, and he had some leftover exotic woods, so I decided to use a few of them, and yeah. This one I kind of modeled after the companion. The knife handle is a little shorter than a companion, uh, because of the length of the sticks tangs in here. I wanted to have the tang go all the way through, and so I can peen it. I didn't peen this one. I glued and then undersized this hole and banged it on with a rubber mallet, and that thing is on there good. Like, that's not moving at all. But this is the one that kind of started it all. My wife was very impressed with it, so I decided to pick up a few more. I think they were about $20 for the blank on Amazon, which, when all said and done, you can get a companion for like 25, and it comes with a sheath. So that, like, if you're just need a knife, it's not that good of a deal. But if you're interested in the whole handle art aspect of a knife, I find the blanks are definitely worth it. Uh, Decent steel as far as the carbon steel. These are all carbon. This one I left in my kitchen for a while and I used a little bit, so it's got a little bit of patina on it, and I've sharpened this one up a couple times. I wanted to sort of use it. Uh, yeah. And then this one was my second one I did. This is ebony, bloodwood, ebony. I can't remember what this middle is. I think it's some sort of maple. It's a very hard wood. I have a nice chunk of it downstairs, followed by ebony, bloodwood, ebony. So it's kind of like a sandwich. And then I did a more of a traditional, uh, like barrel style handle, almost like the Mora carving knives they make. This is epoxied in between each layer, and then I sealed it with beeswax. I heated it up with a heat gun and rubbed the whole thing with beeswax, so when you polish this up, it can get real shiny. I have yet to peen this handle down, but there's enough room to peen it down. But as it is right now, because I undersized the hole on the bottom, and ebony, this ebony is like plastic. I don't know if it's stabilized ebony, but it's tough stuff. And then I pounded that on too, so like even if I didn't peen that down, but I'm going to, uh, it is on there. And then this one, it almost has a plasticky feel because I sealed it with the beeswax, and it does get a little slippery when wet, but it is beautiful. Then the next one I did was this one, And this is my first birch stacked handle. This was a bloodwood bolster stacked birch bark alternating in direction. So one going one way and then the other way. So you can sort of see there's a dark and a light part to each layer. And then also a bloodwood end cap here. I I peened this down a little bit and then I put super glue and then I took some of the sawdust from the sanding because I have a belt. I use a belt sand to shape these, and then kind of covered up the a bit of the peen down handle because I wanted just a little more length out of it. And this one has a nice kind of tapered shape to it. Let's see if I can. Sorry if everything's out of focus. There you go. Um, yeah, this really got me interested in birch bark. Uh, but I started getting a little bit bored of the Mora blanks at this point because this is the third one I did in a row. So I started looking into other blanks and I found a company, Knives of the North. I think they're a US based company, and they ship Lauren knives. They're a blank manufacturer. Do you believe they're out of Finland? And they make knives for the blanks for like the Terraria company, a myriad of other companies. Pretty much a lot of Finnish puukko manufacturers just buy Lauren blanks and then make the handles for them. So I know they definitely have a good track record for the quality, as well as they use a 80 CRV2 steel. So it's definitely a step up from the basic Mora carbon in toughness and in edge retention. I know my two Terraria knives are ridiculous in how long they can hold an edge and how hard I beat on them. I have actually have like four now. I ordered the Scrama. I have the 240, the 210, the Scrama 2. I have the two bigger Scramas. I have the mini Scrama, and then I have the Puukko 140 and then the Puukko 110. I have yet to get much time on them because I've been I ordered so many knives there because I was trying to do a review channel for knives, but I didn't really like where my content was going. So I decided to kind of pivot and go in a knife making sense. Uh, Given that I have a smaller house and I have three kids right now, I don't really have the capabilities or space to have a forge and learn how to heat treat and make my own blades. So as far as making my own blades, that's out of the question right now. And I am more into the woodworking and artistic aspect of the knife, the handle making. A blade makes a knife cut, but a handle makes a knife beautiful, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm going. And plus, with the prices of these Lauren knives, the Lauren knife blanks, I couldn't make my own knives, my own blanks in like come even close to the price per unit that I can get from that company. And they're already heat treated. They're already quality controlled. They're very nice for the price. And if you do want to make them a little different, you can take them to a grinder as long as you don't grind too hot and kind of shape them out to your own liking. But yeah, that's after I did these three, I kind of wanted to do something different. So let me just get these out of the way for a second. All right, so this is the next one that I built. And this is probably one of my favorites I've built so far. This is an 80 millimeter carving knife from Lauren, and I think it was about $9 or $12, somewhere between 10 and $12 for this blank. Uh, yeah, so it's a bloodwood bolster right here, stacked birch bark with an ebony centerpiece, more stacked birch bark, and then more bloodwood. And this is the first one I actually peened fully at the bottom. I haven't grinded it down to make it look pretty yet, but yeah, so I did something a little special on this one because I noticed on this first birch bark that I built, that directions of the birch bark matter in the color. So like if you follow this layer here, it's dark on this side, light on this side, and then dark on this side. So depending on the grain of the birch bark, which way it goes, there's actually a dark and a light part. So I thought it would be fun to see what would happen if I, instead of crisscrossing, I did a spiral. So I spiraled the birch bark in a way. I don't know, let's see if I can get a good. When you oil it up, you can really see, but you can actually see a spiral of dark, and then it'll change as you get to the point where the grain oriented changes. The light parts will become dark, and the dark points will become light. And it made this beautiful spiral pattern on it. Let's see if I can get a little more light into it. Sorry, I'm just using natural light there. I wish I would have oiled this one first, but this, right, sort of there, you can see it glisten. But when this is freshly oiled, it just shines. Whatever oils that are naturally in the birch bark just catch the light so nicely. And I've never seen that done before. I looked online to see if I could find some sort of knife that's been spiral birch bark before, and I've never seen it. But yeah, this again, I have an extra large hand, and this one fits perfectly. But I really love. I've ordered 4 more of these blanks because I love this blade shape. And again, I went for more of a traditional shape where you have like a little bit of a finger guard, kind of lock your hand in, and then a kind of a tapered look to that. But this one, in my opinion, as far as birch bark, is about as nice as you can get. I don't know exactly what I'm going to sell these for because, again, when I make these, I don't start off with a design. I don't draw a design or anything. I just sort of go and then I freeform it on my sander. Sometimes I'll bust out a knife and carve bits that I can't get in my sander, or bust out a Dremel and get fine parts in it. So each one is completely different. Sometimes they'll have a sort of same shape as others, but they're all going to be completely unique to each other, which kind of adds a whole other level of more artisticness to the knives themselves. So yeah, I'll move that one to the side there. And this was the next one I did. So this is the same wood that was in the middle of this knife. Again, I can't remember exactly what kind of wood that was because it was left in my basement. No label on it or anything, but again, it's a very hard wood. So wood, birch bark stack, wood, birch bark stack, wood, peened. I do believe this is a 90 millimeter carving blank, 80 CRV2 carbon steel. And this one kind of has like a flat bottom to it with more of a curved back so it can fit in your hand very nicely. And I wanted to try and seal this one just to see what birch bark is like sealed. I'm not going to do it again. I like the strength of it, but I sealed it with a CA glue, sand CA glue, some thin CA glue, so it really penetrated the wood. And probably about 3 or 4 coats of that. It gives it a kind of a muted seal, so it's not like overly glossy or anything. And it does have a nice amount of grip when your hands aren't too wet, but if your hands are wet, it does get a little slippery. So I'm not one, like, it kind of defeats the purpose of the birch bark, because birch bark I find is very naturally grippy, and apparently if it gets really wet, is not really affected by the water because of just the oils that are in the birch bark. So yeah, that was the second Lauren knife blank I made. Let me keep going down. All right, yeah. And then this was the third one I made. So at this point, I had run out of wood that I had in my basement left over from my grandpa, at least from our grandpa-in-law, I should say. So I looked on Facebook Marketplace and just looked for exotic end scraps because I really like exotic wood. And I found this guitar manufacturer right out of Newmarket, Toronto, who specializes in making exotic wood guitars. And he had probably about 15 years worth of scraps, end cuts. Like, some pieces were huge. I can't believe the amount of waste that there is in guitar manufacturing. I guess maybe he's learning a CNC machine. He had lots of scrap. Anyways, he I drove down $150 for probably out 2 tons of, like, my the shocks in my van were right down to the bottom. My whole back of my Honda Odyssey was loaded up with just boxes of end cuts and scraps of exotic woods. So this is the first one I made with the exotic wood that I got from that gentleman in Toronto. I'll probably have a link in the description. Try and give him a shout out because $150, like, some of that wood, like, I can only imagine the amount of actual money in wood there was there. But he said I was helping him out. Just give me a second. Yeah, he said I was helping him out by taking it out of his basement for him. So yeah, it was a 3 hour drive, 6 hours there and back all in one day. It was a long drive, but well worth it. Maybe in one of my videos, I'll take you back in my storage place where I keep the wood and show you just how much and how crazy of the cuts I got in there. So this is, I do believe, ebony, some sort of maple, and stacked with more ebony, maple, ebony, maple, ebony. It's just a stack of maple and ebony. And I gave it kind of more of a Coke bottle shape. I apologize about the weed whacker sound. My neighbor is doing some lawn work, and that is just the nature of the beast. And yeah, and then I drilled all the guide holes through, pushed it through. All these are glued with epoxy between the layers, as well as the knife is glued in. And then I got a little better at peening. Sorry about the focus, but yeah, I peen that down as well. Uh, I'm in the future. I think I'm gonna start threading them because peening is definitely very slow, in my opinion. It's not the easiest way to lock a knife handle in, but it is satisfying not having to thread anything or find any hardware to lock everything in. But I think this one turned out really good. I put some thumb. I don't know if you can see the top, like some kind of angle thumb grooves in there. And this is a 180 millimeter Luku mini Luku blade or something, like the thinner Luku style. Yeah, and it is solid. I absolutely love this wood I got from this guy. So let's put this down to the side. Moving on through. All right, this is the next one I did. So this is, I think, another, is it 80? Yeah, another 80 mil, but a slightly different style carving blade. This was, gosh, I can't remember what this top wood is, but I don't know if you could see it, a pin of ebony in there, and this is not ebony. Oh, I really should have gotten a list of woods from the guy, but it's like a dark walnut or something. Hold up, I'm gonna pause here because my neighbor is getting a little close to us with the weed whacker. All right, I think he's done there. Sorry about that. Lovely neighbor. He just doing some weed whacking for me, and he doesn't realize I'm recording a video. That's okay. He's the best. Anyways, so yeah. Again, I really wish I knew a little more about the wood from these from the lot I got, because there's just so many varieties of it, and I'm not well versed in some of these exotic woods, so I don't know a lot about them. If anybody has any questions about it, I can easily contact the guy who sold me the wood. He said he would help me out with any IDing of varieties. Uh, so yeah, if you have any questions, let me know about the specific knives, and I can ask the guy. So One, two, three, four, five, six. So this is a 7 layer stack. Again, this one has an ebony pin in it. So the way oh my goodness, he's weed whacking again. Let me pause up. Hold up. All right, I think he's in my backyard now, so it's a little further away. Sorry about it again. So yeah, an ebony pin. The way he makes his guitars uses CNC, so I'm guessing a lot of pieces I got had like guide pin holes where he drilled a hole in, I guess, to hold the wood while the CNC machine's working. So I take some of the scrap pieces of other wood and I take my drill, stick it in the drill on my belt sander, and just drill it and make a pin that'll fit perfectly in those guide pin holes, almost like a dowel. And then I'll glue them in to sort of be able to use that chunk of wood and not have a hole through the middle. I really like how it gives it a nice, almost eye look to it, especially this one. Uh, I have another one in there I'll show you after, very similar, that looks like an eyeball. Uh, my wife said this one kind of looks like a clownfish, which made me laugh. Uh, but yeah, I love the way this one turned out. It's kind of, again, traditional like barrel style, but it has a finger guard that'll lock you in and then a nice little palm swell at the bottom to really make it comfortable in your hand. It's a little bit shorter of a handle than my other ones, but it feels so good in the hand. All these are the Lauren Carbon ADCR V2. I'm not a fan of stainless steel. Like, I like it for kitchen use, but for carving blades, I much prefer carbon steel. Moving on, this is a 60 millimeter little tiny carving blade that has stacks of rosewood, wenge on the top and bottom, a purple heart in there if you can see it, and I do believe that's an ebony in there. It turned out a little darker when I was sanding it. It was a lot lighter, but as soon as I oiled it, it really darkened everything up. But I love the little flashes of the purple heart in there. And again, very tiny, nimble blade. Be perfect for smaller carving work and or leather work, or almost as a substitute for a an X-Acto blade. Getting to 20 minutes already. Let's move a little quicker here through because I got quite a few to show you. This was the next one I built. This is a 210 millimeter Luku blade, bloodwood, purple heart, zebra wood with an ebony pin, as well as wenge and ebony. Like, this is a block of wenge, ebony, and wenge at the bottom. It's very hard to tell. I don't know if you could sort of see. There's two different kinds of wood there. And then this is the first time I experimented with a metal end cap on it. I wanted something a little harder if you needed to crack a nut or two or hammer in. This metal is actually from I had a Breville coffee maker that the pump went out on it. Very expensive coffee maker, but there's lots of good stainless steel on it, so I cut a nice chunk of stainless steel out of it, and I've been using it for end caps and bolsters. But this one turned out really good. No ricasso or anything, just a slight angled bolster to it, so you can sharpen right up to the bottom there. And again, all layered together, glued together with epoxy, and then epoxied into the handle and peen down at the bottom. Just gonna pause one more second here. Sweet. So I just saw him walk away with the weed whacker. So either he ran out of cord for the weed whacker and he's going to fill it up, or gas, or he's done. I don't know. It's really nice. He just cuts it, so I don't want to mess with him and be like, hey, I'm trying to film a video, but I would like if you asked me first. All right, so moving on. All right, yeah. So this one, my wife, she does a lot of scrapbooking as well as collaging, and she cuts a lot of stuff out of magazines. She will ask me to build her a knife that would replace X-Acto knives she uses all the time. So I got the shortest blade from the company that they offer. I think this is a 40 millimeter, 42 millimeter little carving blade. This one is somewhat unfinished. This one I just drilled a hole right through, pounded in, and haven't. Well, I put a bit of epoxy in when I first drew, like put it on the tang, but I haven't filled the hole with epoxy or anything yet. This is gosh, I know this is leopard wood, flame maple. I'm not really sure what the bottoms are, but all epoxy together, clamped and epoxied, and then it was a big block, and then I shaped it. So it's basically for being able to push down and into things. Good for leather work. But anything that you'd use an X-Acto blade for, this would be good for. So I told her, instead of going through X-Acto blades all the time, she can use this and I'll sharpen it up for her. And it's really good, like almost a pen blade, where you really get a nice good bit of dexterity to it. There is a kind of a swell in the middle, and then it thins out, and like it's tapered. Like it looks a little wonky when you look at it. Like the blade looks like it's sitting a little too far back, but that's by design. The way I had this sitting in, I had these glued together, and then the way I drilled the hole through it. I'm not 100% sure I like the way it looks, but functionally, it's very comfortable, fits nicely, and you can really push down hard if you need to cut through leather. Overall, great little utility blade, and man, these are sharp. I think this one I sliced the tip of my thumb off. Always tape your blades up when you're working on them. It was a tiny blade. I'm like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? And I sliced the crap out of myself. So yeah, a little utility kind of cutter, purpose built for my wife. She has yet to use it, but hopefully she gets around to it. So let's throw this right in that room. Right. Yeah. All right, moving on. This one is a 120 millimeter puko blade, bloodwood, purple heart, rosewood, maple, rosewood, maple, rosewood, maple, rosewood, purple heart, bloodwood. Peened at the bottom. And there's also a what is that? I can't remember. There's a top little bolster up there, part of the bolster up there, which is a different kind of wood, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A dozen layers. That one came together really nice. This is a chunker. This I was going more for the like the Mora basic style, but this is way bigger than a Mora basic. It fits. I can squeeze my extra large hand in, and it really fits. So it's got almost like a barrel handle, but it swells out a little bit at the bolster there, as well as at the end cap to kind of lock your hand in, and that's a good knife for poking. As well as it's got some heft to it. These hardwoods, man, they are hefty. I wish I could oil this one up for you and show you just how much that rosewood shines. It's quite a beautiful blade, or a beautiful handle when all said and done. And I love those little hints of purple heart in there. Put that one to the side. Coming up on a half hour. Let's go a little faster here. This is probably one of my favorites. Very similar in handle shape to this one, where it's more of a flat bottom and a rounded back to it. Fits very good in your hand. This is the first one where I put a metal bolster on with some very thin ebony, maple, bloodwood, wenge, maple end cap, with another ebony pin and peen down at the bottom. I do believe this is a 95 millimeter blade with a ricasso on it. This is the first one I tried with a ricasso. And I really ended up liking it. Yeah, this one. Oh no, this one has a ricasso too. But this one really came together nicely. More of a traditional barrel style handle, little palm swell, thinner near the top than it is at the bottom. Really ergonomically just fits nicely into the hand. And then this is the one that has almost like an eyeball looking at you because of the way the wenge grain like wraps around and gives this curves to it. This one turned out beautifully, and it's the reverse on the back where the wenge kind of goes the opposite way. But this, all in all, is one of my favorites that I made. And because of the metal in it, still that Breville coffee maker, uh, it's got some heft to it, and it just, this, you could beat on this one. There's definitely a little more heavy duty of a handle than the rest. They're all pretty heavy duty because these are hard woods, but the metal bits on them really help to strengthen them up. This one was just one I threw together really quickly. Rosewood, zebra wood, and then a dark wood. Always back with the mower. Yeah, so this one I'm not 100% sure I like. The design is comfortable in my hand. I was going for kind of like a Mora carving style, like the laminated Mora blades, but I think I need to bring this back on my bandsaw and thin it out a little bit. I'm just not 100% sure. And it also has one of those pins in the back like that too. Kind of makes it look like a squid or something. A single eye squid. So this one, probably my least favorite out of them, but still a nice blade. And I think this is the last one. This one is a kind of a concept blade. I wanted something that you could have a sort of a dead blow hammer on. Let me focus that. So it's basically similar to this style handle, and I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it, so I made it in a way where I could, like, even if I hated it, I can always just chop that off and sand it down. But I really like it. It locks your hand in very well. You can turn it around, lock your pinky in there, have a little dead blow, kind of like softer wood mallet style for cracking nuts or smushing stuff, as well as it allows you to hold this blade in many ways very securely. Like I can hold this right at the end and swing it around really good and get like almost like a machete length on it for chopping brush, and be able very confident with that in my hand. I call it a boot handle, very Coke bottle style shape where it's thin at the top, swells out thin again. This is maple, very hard maple, with wenge, zebra wood wenge, and maple peeing down at the bottom. I'm still not 100% sure if this is the final design for this, but I'm really enjoying it. And even if you like, if you need to like knock a fish out really quickly with this, could easily be a little fish thwacker. That would send them to Sleepy Town quick and dirty. Yeah, I have the kind of finger guard lock in, and this one does not have a ricasso, just an angled top piece, so you can sharpen down right down to the bottom. These are all rat tail style tangs. If you give me a second, I'll pull out a blank and show you kind of what we're working with here. I think I have some of my box of Lauren blanks here. Like this is a 95 millimeter blank, but yeah, so you're dealing with very substantial rat tail tangs. Like they're not thin. They thin out near the bottom, but they're pretty hefty near the top. So in my opinion, these are just as strong as a full tang knife. And you get the ability to have the full wraparound handle without the metal touching your hands. This is a partial treatment. So this was like about twice as expensive as a normal 95 mil blade. This is, I think, 62 Rockwell in the center. This is so they basically heat treat it and then blast it with a torch on certain parts of it. So the center, it's like all the benefits of a laminated blade without actually having to laminate the blade, and you can almost see it. Let's see if we can I can see it here, but there's a line right in the middle of the blade there where you can see the hard steel is. Maybe they quench it in water and then draw back the back. I don't know exactly how they do it, but it's very similar to how the Terraria blades are, where it's softer metal on the outside and then a harder metal core on the inside, similar to a laminated style blade, but not laminated, just full single 80 CRV. So you don't have to worry about delamination or anything. I'm very interested to see if this one is as tough as these blades, because this 80 CRV is very, very tough stuff. And having going up to 62 there, that seems pretty high. So I'm interested to see if it chips out a little easier. But I'm going to make this one for myself. This is a special one for myself. All these are going to be for sale at some point. I'm not exactly sure when. Let's see if I can tuck them all in together and get them into one frame here. I don't have my original Moras. Let's see if I can. Like that. There you go. Anyways, I have a couple more. I'm not really sure what I'm going to be charging for these, because they're all, like I said, one of a kind, more artistic than utilitarian. And they do take quite a bit of time. Like my average one takes me, depending on laminates and what's like, the birch bark takes quite a while because I have to layer each part, and I put glue in between each layer. I know you can do a bake treatment where it sticks together by itself, but I prefer to put a little bit of, I don't go full out epoxy in between each layer, but I put a little bead of glue in between each layer to kind of lock it in, just in case. I don't want it to shift or turn around if anything happens to dry or loosen up. So yeah, they take 5-6 hours a blade, plus the materials and everything. Like, again, I don't exactly know what I would want to charge for something like this to make it worth it, but probably like the bigger one I want like $200 for, because that blade itself is 30 Canadian dollars plus the wood, another probably $30 in wood and materials, glue, sanding belts. So yeah, $60 there, 5 hours of my time. What do you think you guys would pay? Do you think these would sell? Do you think this is something that could be a little business for me? One of a kind artistic based knives that are also solidly built in a way that you could use them, but almost don't want to use them because they're so pretty. Because I have a ridiculous amount of wood now, and I really want to be able to use it for this. Yeah. Let me know what your favorite one is out of all these. Let me know if this is a new kind of video that you'd be interested in seeing. I'm thinking about recording myself while making them, and then having sort of similar to like Blacktail Studios, where he like auctions off the product after he makes tables, like resin tables, but he'll do an auction after and sort of use the video to promote the product, and then do like a 30-day auction after, and it just sells for what it sells for. And if I can make a living out of it, that'd be great. If you get a chance, check out my Instagram. I think it's Instagram. My wife started out for me. I have a lot of like processes and oiling pictures on there, showing like the different aspects of the builds at Pepinmade, PEPINMADE. Yeah, check it out if you get a chance. Follow me. I definitely want to do something like this. I find it's a much more functional use of my time, other than to just buy knives, review other people's knives, judge other people. I'm a kind of a builder. I like to make things. So I love the aspect of knives, and I love making stuff. So if I can merge those things together and make some sort of home business out of it, that would be great. Let's see if I could get one shot of everything. Excuse my messy room. I got kids, but yeah, there is everything together. That would have been a better a better aspect ratio for the video before. Let me know what your favorite one is. Let me know if you like these kind of blades. If you ever want to buy one, just come contact me. I'm sure we can come up with something. Uh, as of now, I haven't sold any. I haven't posted any for sale. I kind of wanted to bank about 20 of them before I started selling them, have a decent supply of them. I think I'm going to start making sheaths for them and or ordering the sheaths. There's a couple leather workers in Sudbury who have offered to make sheaths for me, but I think that would really cut in to my profits and or jack up the price of the knives if I start getting makers to make the sheaths for me. So I'm thinking about making like wood wood based sheaths because I have so much nice exotic wood where it's like two pieces of wood and then you have like there's some Japanese knives. I've been looking at some Japanese outdoor knives, Tomoya knives that have like really nice wooden sheaths. They do clack around a little bit in them, but I like to work with wood. I'm not really a leather worker. I mean, it's another skill I can use, but yeah. She as of right now, there's no sheaths with them. So let me know what you guys think. So far, I've been having a blast making these. All right, 41-minute video. This is Sean signing out. Let me know what you think. Have a good day, guys. Bye.